Hello everybody, I am back and I hope you have had a chance to listen to chapter 1 of Springtime according to Humphrey, and I'm here again to read our next chapter, chapter 2, which is called The Waiting Game. After Aldo's car had left the parking lot, I decided to go see Gigi. She's the guinea pig in Miss Mack's first grade class. Og, I'm going to check on Gigi, I said. But I won't be gone long because she has to get to sleep. I'm happy that hamsters don't sleep all through the night, because that's the time I have my biggest adventures. I'm only sorry that Og worries about me when I'm gone. I jiggled my lock that doesn't lock and scurried across the table. I took a deep breath and slid down the table leg to the floor. I scrambled across the room and crawled under the door, then raced down the darkened hallway to room 12. Once I was inside, I hurried to the table by the window. I wasn't sure if Gigi was awake or not, so I quietly squeaked, "Gigi, hi, it's me, Humphrey." "Hi, Humphrey," she replied in her soft voice. I'm positively thrilled that I can understand Gigi. I can understand humans, but they can't understand me the way Gigi does. And I still haven't figured out frog language. "I was hoping you'd visit," she said. "Can you come up here?" Getting up to the tabletop is always dangerous, but I grabbed onto the blinds cord, which hung almost to the floor, and slowly swung higher and higher until I could let go and leap onto the table near Gigi. "Did you see the ice this morning?" I asked. "Here it is March and we had an ice storm. All my friends in room 26 can't wait for spring to come." "What's spring?" Gigi asked. She's a little younger than I am and hasn't been in school very long. "It's what comes after winter," I explained. "It gets warmer and greener and things start to grow again." "Oh," said Gigi, "I don't know about those things." "You will," I assured her. "Just pay attention in class. Miss Mack is a great teacher." "I know," Gigi said. "I love Miss Mack." I love Miss Mack too, even though she broke my heart once and moved away. Luckily, she came back. She's not my teacher anymore, but she still visits me sometimes. Gigi suddenly yawned. "Sorry, Humphrey," she said. "You know I go to bed early." "I know," I replied, "and I like to stay up late." "It's not easy to sleep with the blinds open," she said. "The street light shines in my cage and wakes me up." Mrs. Brisbane used to close the blinds at night, but Aldo started opening them so I could see outside. I guess Aldo opens them for Gigi too. "Maybe I can close them," I said. I examined the blinds. Up until that moment, I'd only used the cord as a way to make my way up to the tables in room 26 and room 12. I usually gently swing myself up to table level. I don't weigh very much and I've never had a problem. But in order to make the blinds come down, I gave the cord a hard yank. Nothing happened. So I pulled it to the left. Suddenly, the blinds crashed down and the cord lifted me up off the table. I was hanging in mid-air. "Humphrey, what are you doing up there?" Gigi asked. "I'm stuck," I said. I was feeling scared. If I let go, I'd fall down on the table and I might hurt myself. If I pulled harder, the cord might lift me up even higher. I knew I couldn't hang on forever. I needed a plan, and I needed it quickly. I looked around to see if there was something soft on the table. There were stacks of papers and a few books, as well as Gigi's guinea pig food. Then I saw it, a nice, soft-looking box of tissues. Unfortunately, they were too far away for me to jump on. Gigi, have you ever tried jiggling your lock open? I asked. No, she said. Why? If you have a lock that doesn't lock like mine, then you could help me, I said. Oh, I want to help. What should I do? Gigi asked. I told her to push up, push down, and jiggle, jiggle, jiggle the lock. Nothing happened. Try leaning against the door with all your weight, I suggested. Then jiggle the door. Gigi put her body weight against the door, and then she wiggled and jiggled, and oh my, the door swung wide open. Gigi gasped. Now what? I asked her to push the tissue box until it was directly under me. She didn't waste any time. She slid the box toward me until it was right under my legs. That's it, I said. I closed my eyes and let go, dropping down onto a very soft bed of tissues. Are you okay? Gigi asked. I sneezed because a little tissue fluff got in my nose. I'm fine, I said. Thanks for saving me. I climbed out of the box and hopped onto the table. I was scared, Gigi whispered, but you're very brave. I was a little bit scared too, I said. Thanks for helping me. I promise I'll never make that mistake again. Then I realized that we had another problem. The top tissue, where I landed, wouldn't be clean, even though I'm a very clean hamster. I wouldn't want one of my human friends to use it. Luckily, I had another plan. Gigi and I pushed the tissue box on its side, and I gently removed the top one. Won't Miss Mac notice that the box is on its side? Gigi asked. Yes, but she won't know what we did, I explained. I was going to push the used tissue onto the floor, but I didn't want Aldo to get in trouble. I pushed it under the bag of food instead. So now that you're out of the cage, would you like to go on an adventure? I asked. We can just slide down the table leg. Gigi looked horrified. Guinea pigs don't slide or climb. It's too scary. That seemed strange because hamsters like me love, love, love adventures. My friend yawned. Sorry, Humphrey, but it's my bedtime. Nighty-night. She crawled into her cage and I pushed the door shut. Yep, the lock looked locked, just like mine. But when I got back to room 26, all greeted me with a series of boings. I was used to the strange sound he makes, but he was unusually loud. Sorry I was gone so long. I was just, hanging around, I said. I tried to make a joke, but dangling in midair hadn't been funny at all. I'd never look at a blinds cord the same way again. Later, I got out my little notebook to write about my fur-raising experience. I loved writing by the warm glow of the streetlight. Hamsters and guinea pigs may understand one another, but we're different in so many ways. My classmates and I spent a lot of time looking for signs of spring, but we didn't come up with much. My mom ordered seeds for her garden, Felipe said one day, but she can't plant them yet. I'd still say that was a sign of spring, Mrs. Brisbane said. March was a funny month. We'd have sunshine and warmer weather for a few days. Then suddenly it would rain and turn cold and gloomy. Og, have you seen one single sign of spring yet? I asked after 2 weeks of feeling frustrated. He replied with a very bored-sounding boing. Me either, I said. My friends were as frustrated as I was. You'd think the leaves would be budding, Holly complained. Not now, Nicole sighed. You'd think the flowers would be blooming. Where are the robins? Rosie wondered. Mrs. Brisbane smiled. They'll be here soon. The first day of spring is coming up. Small Paul raised his hand. I was reading up on the average temperatures for March here, and this is completely normal. There were several loud groans. It's not my fault, Paul said. It's a scientific fact. We don't blame you, Paul, Rolling Rosie said. But why does science have to be so scientific? At least she made everybody laugh. A few days before the first day of spring, it snowed again. This is not fair, Harry groaned. Daniel agreed. At least it could have snowed enough for them to call off school. Mrs. Brisbane went on to talk about math problems, and I gazed out at the snow. It wasn't very deep, and there were patches of brown showing through. White and brown, brown and white, white and purple? Look, I squeaked. Look, look, look! I knew that the purple thing could be a wrapper from somebody's lunch, or anything someone might have dropped. I climbed to the tippy top of my cage for a better look. Humphrey seems excited, Mrs. Brisbane said, hurrying to the table. Is something wrong? No, 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 I squeaked. It's a sign. She didn't understand me, of course, but Og joined in with a boing, boing. They're looking outside, our teacher said. But what are they looking at? The students rushed to the window to look. Og and I continued to make a lot of noises. It's purple! It's spring! I squeaked. Boing, 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 Og added. Rosie leaned forward in her wheelchair and pressed her nose against the window. Look, she pointed. It's a purple flower coming through the snow. The classroom buzzed with excitement. Where? Thomas asked. Yeah, where? Sophie said. I see it, Mrs. Brisbane pointed too. Over there, near the base of the tall tree. I heard lots of oohs and ahs. I think we should go out and see for ourselves, Mrs. Brisbane said. Yes, we should, I squeaked. It seemed to take them forever to put on coats and hats, boots and gloves, and then tramp outside to see the flower. My friends were excited, and so was I, until I realized that Og and I weren't going outside with them. The cold isn't good for either one of us. I knew that, but I couldn't help but wish that I could just put on a coat and hat and boots and gloves and join them. Og and I silently stared out the window until we saw Mrs. Brisbane lead my friends to the little spot of purple. Everyone crouched down to stare at the purple bloom. Mrs. Brisbane snapped a photo. And then she did something wonderful. She looked right up at our window and waved. I don't think she could see me, but I waved back. Boing! Og twanged. Boing, boing! I love, love, love Mrs. Brisbane. And at that moment I knew that she loved, loved, loved me. And Og too, of course. When my friends returned to room 26, their cheeks were rosy and their eyes sparkled with excitement. "What did you call that flower, Mrs. Brisbane?" "Tell the truth," Thomas asked. "I believe it was a crocus," she said. "Let's look it up." Once the gloves and hats and boots and scarves were off, Mrs. Brisbane opened a big book and turned page after page. "Here," she said. "What do you think?" My friends all leaned in around her desk, where she had opened the book. "I wish I could see it," I told Og. "Boing, boing," he replied. "It's definitely a crocus," helpful Holly said. "And to think it poked its little head up through the snow." The door to room 26 flung open, and in walked the most important person at Longfellow School, our principal, Mr. Morales. "I saw you all tramping through the snow," he said. "I wondered what you were looking at." He was smiling, so I knew he wasn't upset. "There's a purple crocus in the snow," Stop Talking Sophie said. "It's the first sign of spring. And it was beautiful. I'll show you." She led Mr. Morales to the window and pointed. "It's that little bit of purple near the tree." Mrs. Brisbane was behind us. "Humphrey and Og seemed to spot it first," she said. "Because they are very wise and observant," Mr. Morales said. "Thank you," I squeaked. "Boing," Og said. Then I heard voices chanting, "It's spring! It's spring! It's such a wonderful thing!" I looked over and saw Rosie, Holly, Nicole, and Kelsey joining hands and repeating, "It's spring! It's spring! It's such a wonderful thing!" Mr. Morales smiled and said, "I agree. I sit in my office and work at my desk and talk on my phone. And sometimes I never even look out the window. Thank you for showing me a wonderful thing." It's funny how a little purple flower in the snow can make people so happy. Hamsters and frogs, too. After Mr. Morales left, my classmates started writing about the first sign of spring. Mrs. Brisbane wrote crocus on the chalkboard. She also passed around purple crayons for my friends to share. They were very, very, very quiet until they left for lunch. While they were gone, I took out my notebook. I didn't have a purple crayon, but I think I did pretty good job of drawing a crocus without one. Humphrey's Spring Things. It almost took forever to see a sign of spring, but now that it has happened, it's such a thrilling thing. Well, I hope that you all are seeing some signs of spring outside, and remember to send those in to me if you want. I would love to see them, and I will see you next time for Chapter 3. Miss you guys. Bye.